the Free Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. I mean, this is a thing now. I've mentioned it before, and this is up in Seattle. So they have created in the city of Seattle, which is far left progressive, and now they're trying to create one in Portland. They have this area that they have fenced off. Apparently walls do work. They have fenced off. It's about 6 to 8 square blocks, and they are declaring it free of police, free of the government. They have effectively said that they have seceded from the United States, or at least U.S. government authority no longer applies. There's some fascinating stuff going around the internet. And before I get into this, because this is a perfect example of where the politicization of media coverage comes into play. If, let's say, there was a Tea Party movement underway right now, and people aligned with the ideology of the Tea Party seized a section of a major city, were armed, were saying no police in, no one's allowed to come in and out without our say-so. They're effectively brandishing their insurrection. If the Tea Party did that, there would be demands to send in the National Guard. There'd be demands to send in the SEALs in the middle of the night and take everybody out. I mean, the libs would be losing their minds over this. And you know this. There was, the Malheur Wildlife Refuge that was seized by some, right-wing anti-government activists. This is in the middle of nowhere. And there was this whole debate over federal land and then we go back. I mean, there's all this, and it's hard to even remember because honestly, it didn't really change much of the national conversation because the left was just saying, look at these crazy right-wingers who with their guns want to do, and they just focused on that as a major threat, as a major problem to the country. Are they doing that right now in Seattle? Are they saying, look at this ideology, look at what it has created in a major U.S. city? No, of course not. And all the different manifestations of what this has done in Seattle, Portland, I think you'll see this in other places. Remember, Occupy Wall Street was a similar, it started in New York, and they seized private property and set up a camp. And then it was, we're not moving, and you're going to have to send in, men with clubs to bludgeon us to get us to leave. And that's what ended up happening. I was there the night they broke up the Zuccotti Park encampment. It was not pretty. But they did this in cities all over the country. Now, I would also say to you, did this change anything? Was the world a better place? Did we move forward as a society because of Occupy Wall Street? No. It was like radical cosplay, costume play, for those who don't know. I've had to learn some terms in the last few years. It was posturing, preening as people that were revolutionaries. That's what it was. Didn't change anything, really. And just like the Black Lives Matter movement in the first wave led to riots, a lot of talk, a lot of discussion, federal investigation of different police departments. Do we still have the very same complaints from the left and the Democratic Party that we did then? Yes, the exact same complaints. It has not changed. So I want to put the focus a little bit on something that the media won't. And clearly conservatives find this fascinating because not only does it show that the mayor of Seattle is an incompetent buffoon, perhaps in a running competition with New York City's Mayor de Blasio for the worst possible mayor you could ever be. But the mayor's an idiot, doesn't want to do anything about this. You have people with guns. Remember that. Now, if you have a gun legally in Michigan and you go outside the state capitol to protest, you're basically a domestic terrorist. If you are in Seattle and a lib and a leftist and you are carrying firearms and you are setting up barriers and barricades to a civilian area of a city, you're a free thinker. You're somebody that believes in justice. You're a good person. We know they have no standards, no honesty, no objectivity. But there's some fascinating stuff that's coming out of here. This was shared all over the internet by apparently one of the people involved in this protest, and it's defending and maintaining the autonomous zone in the short term. Electricity and water So they're coming up with strategies. I mean, they're really going to try and stay. And I've got to tell you, who thinks that they're not going to be able to stay for at least a while? You think that the Seattle Police Department's going to go in there when there are people who are armed and setting up barricades and fences? You think that the Seattle Police is going to say, yeah, sure, let's crack down on this right now? Occupy Wall Street was on private property in violation of New York City laws for months. Months. Didn't matter. I think they had weird diseases were breaking out there because the whole thing was so unsanitary. The place smelled like an open sewer. I went down there way too many times. Oof. Anyway, here's what they're preparing for in the Seattle Autonomous Zone. Electricity and water could be cut to the autonomous zone, they write, so as many generators as possible ought to be acquired to maintain essential operations within the zone, and gasoline should be stocked and stored throughout the zone, first to prevent large fires, and second, so that the entire stock isn't lost with the loss of a single area. It is unlikely that a well could be drilled in the autonomous zone, so supply lines of fresh water must be maintained. If the area is under siege, drones could be used to maintain the supply of water. That's going to be quite an airlift of, those drones are going to be carrying a lot of water to keep people hydrated, especially as we go into the warmer months here. Number 2 on this list of defending and maintaining the autonomous zone in the short term from one of the people organizing it or involved in it. There are likely cleaning supplies somewhere in the stores in the autonomous zone. Bleach will be of interest. They almost certainly carry bulk hydrochloric acid. Combining these will produce chlorine gas, which, if deployed on a group, will force them to use gas masks, which is itself not ideal tactically, and no more men than there are quality gas masks available. So they're saying, here's how to make homemade chlorine gas in case the cops try to come in here and force and break this up. My friends, this is the sharing of tactics regarding chemical weapon usage against police officers. Do you see anyone? Is anyone pointing to this and saying there's something really wrong with the minds here, and there's something really threatening with the ideas and the actions that are being taken here in the middle of Seattle? I wonder how long it is before someone tries to set up an autonomous zone. They're going for it in Portland, another wackadoo place full of nutsos. Good food, interesting stuff going on there. Crazy folks living in Portland, a lot of them. If you listen to this show, obviously in the Portland area, then you're one of the normal good people, so congrats. Pushing back ground attacks and advancing the borders of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, the CHAZ. Oh, they even have a cute acronym for it. Oh, isn't that nice? Mass line-based formations where the second line can continually come forward to relieve the front line, whether armed with sticks, guns, or whatever, should work well with defending narrow streets. The most important things are superior numbers, shielding, and discipline. Unless the police start a massacre, a well-disciplined line ought to be able to push, even literally, the police back. So this is someone who's brainstorming the tactics of how they can fight back against the cops. What the heck is going on? Well, you won't hear about any of this from the media. They have very little interest in covering any of this. They also have very little interest, this was on Medium, in telling you what the demands are of these protesters. The demands of the collective black voices at Free Capitol Hill to the government of Seattle, Washington. They have actually listed these demands out for you. Given the historical moment, we'll begin with our demands pertaining to the justice system. Remember, these people have seized a 6 to 8 block radius of a major U.S. city. Police are not going in. The people that have seized this are armed, and there's a declaration that this is no longer under the authority or sovereignty of the United States or the state of Washington. That's where we are here, or the city of Seattle, all of the above. Number 1 demand, the Seattle Police Department and attached court system are beyond reform. We do not request reform. We demand abolition. That's right. Abolish police and courts. I thought this was about justice and preventing people from being killed by police. No, abolish the courts and the police. In the transitionary period between now and the dismantlement of the police, we demand that the use of armed force be banned entirely. No guns, no batons, no riot shields, no chemical weapons, especially against those exercising their First Amendment rights. So no police force is allowed to be used of any kind. We demand an end to the school-to-prison pipeline and the abolition of youth jails. Yeah, 15-year-olds want to go out there and as part of a gang initiation, slash somebody across the face with a razor blade. You just got to have a social worker show up and say, hey, please don't do that. That's all you need. We all know this. Number 4 demand here, that the city government nor the state government launch a full-scale investigation into past and current abuses of police brutality. Number 5, we demand reparations for victims of police brutality. Already people that are, when there's a police brutality case, can get huge settlements. We demand the city of Seattle make the names of officers involved in police brutality a matter of public record. We demand a retrial of all people of color serving a prison sentence for violent crime by a jury of their peers in their community. Oh, okay. Anybody who's serving a prison sentence for a violent crime gets another trial now. Gets another trial. Oh, okay. And do you know how long that will take? Let's just assume for a second they're going to do that. Do you know why the system is essentially now a system of plea bargains? Because if we had to wait for everybody to go through the actual criminal justice system, it would become so clogged it would cease to function. Oh, almost like that's the point that they're demanding here. Let's see. We demand that prisoners currently serving time be given the full and unrestricted right to vote, rather, and for Washington State to pass legislation that allows them to vote. We demand people be given localized anti-crime systems, the right to, what is that? We demand for those who have been sexually harassed or abused by the Seattle Police Department, we demand justice, okay, whatever that means. And then, now they have economic demands. Here we go. You mean the left isn't just about justice for African Americans that have been harmed by police? There's something else going on here? Oh, there's all the things. We demand the degentrification of Seattle, starting with rent control. We demand the restoration of city funding for arts and culture to establish the once rich local cultural identity of Seattle. We demand free college. We demand a decentralized election process. We demand hospitals. I mean, it just goes on. Okay, on and on and on and on. My friends, this is the insane left showing us who they are, what they're willing to do, how crazy their ideas are, and how they're willing to use force and threats to get them. How is this not the biggest news story in the country? Oh, because they'd rather just focus on the celebrities making videos about how they're taking responsibility for all of the injustice. They're taking responsibility because they're so brave.
Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.